All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Word with Ty Brownlow. I am your host, Ty Brownlow, and remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I have a very special guest for you. Let me give you a couple of words about my guest. Creative, relatable, solution-based, introspective, all the way from Laurel, Maryland. Please put your hands together for Miss Natasha Carter. Yes. All around.
You say from Laurel, like that's where I'm at, but that's not where I'm from. Laurel's a little boring, so it's a little boring. But okay, I'm ready.
Look here, for all my Maryland friends, I did not say that. Okay, look, I'm gonna just let you know where we're broadcasting. All right, okay, moving on. All right, so no, we're here to talk about mental health, and let me just give you a couple of rundown on my guest here, Miss Carter. Okay. First of all, SW, okay? For those of you like, I don't know what all that means. Let me break it down for you, okay? License, okay? She's licensed, so she knows what she's doing. Psychotherapist, sports therapist, and social work, all right? So we're here to talk about mental health. A lot of things going on in mental health these days, especially in the sports field. But we're going to talk about you for a second. And, your background and how you got into this field as well. So you got 13 plus years, all right, in clinical and social work experience. Can you just tell us what got you into this and, how you stay passionate from day to day in this field?
Sure. So short version, I got into this field because I was struggling as a young adult, specifically in high school, all the way up to, college. Had a really good home upbringing, both parents, a lot of things that my friends didn't have. And so everyone would be like, I don't understand why you are unhappy. You have all these things that we wish we had. And even though I had a very supportive family, I just didn't have, that happiness that people thought I should have at that age, right? Mm-hmm. And then I couldn't really talk about it to my parents because at that time, because now he's not, sorry, Dad, I know you're very supportive now, but at the time, being military, we really didn't talk about things outside of the household. And whenever I would mention therapy, it was like, yeah, you don't need therapy. We can talk it out. And so I kind of learned how to suppress and kind of keep that to myself and not really be comfortable sharing or even expressing, because I didn't know myself what to say. I couldn't tell people what I was feeling because I didn't know myself. Right. And then going to college, it kind of escalated as far as still having moments where I wasn't able to cope, cutting. Started, just really not going to class, hanging with the wrong crowd, having a lot of withdrawals on my transcript because I would have really bad anxiety. Even though I would know the material, as soon as I go to take that first test, it was horrible, right? And so went to the guidance counselor for the first time at my university. And at that time, it was the first time I've ever really kind of had a conversation with a professional. She didn't look like me. And I felt like during our first initial conversation that I didn't feel like she understood anything of where I was coming from or what I was trying to say. And I don't think that I was really heard. And the one thing that stuck out to me that still to this day I remember was she made the comment, "You're not going through anything that no other freshman is going through. It'll pass." And I was just like, I don't really know. Have all freshmen been assaulted? You know what I'm saying? Are there things that all freshmen have been through? Because if that's the case, we really need to provide more support. And that is kind of where I was like, I want to make sure that I'm doing something in a career or in a field to help individuals, specifically young girls like me, yes, get the support that they need so that they don't have to wait until college to figure out what they're feeling or how to cope, or going through cutting and using drugs and all that stuff, how to kind of deal with that at a younger age and how to be comfortable expressing and asking for support and being able to be that person that looks like them, that can relate to them, bring a different kind of perspective to how they cope and how they can learn how to cope. So that conversation, that one session, because I never saw a therapist again the whole time for 10 years. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That like really shaped. So when people say, oh, therapy doesn't work, the first thing I ask is, what was your first experience like? Because if your first experience was not a good one, or you did not vibe with the therapist, or you didn't connect, or you didn't feel comfortable, then of course you're going to think it didn't work because you weren't open, you weren't ready to receive or to engage in that person because you didn't trust them. You didn't get that good feeling, that good vibe. And usually that's when people say like, I'm just not going to try anymore, right? I'm not going to go anymore. And then they don't end up going until the very last minute when they're kind of at their breaking point and it's escalated. And it's like all these years of struggles and issues that now they want to deal with, you know?
Okay. All right. Well, that definitely makes you a professional, and the letters LCSW, okay, and LICSW.
Time and money. Woo,
right. Okay. Time is money, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man. She went through it, man. Now
licensed in 3 different states. Let me just add. I'm sorry. Sometimes I don't give myself my own tooting. So I just want to 3 different states: Maryland, North Carolina, and DC. So sorry.
In 3 different states, y'all. Okay, look here. Holler at her. All right, man, look, it doesn't matter. Yes, she's in the area. Man, I can go there too. Yes. All right. There you go. Okay. Ching ching. But no, so let's talk about it a little bit. Let's just talk about mental health in these athletes. Okay, we're going to go professional, and we're going to go student athletes as well, because I know you work with youth, and you know, man, there's a lot of things going on with youth these days.
Absolutely.
We're opening back up, you
Absolutely.
know, so there's the, you know, anxiety. Yeah, well, still wear your mask, people, please. But we're opening back up, and you know, we're out, and people are going to have anxiety. Sports are going to start back up. You know, absolutely. Hey, you know what? The last year or so, I've been playing the games with no one in the stands. Now, all of a sudden, there's people in the stands.
Right.
Like, you know, I was the man in 2019. Now in 2021, I don't.
Yeah, it's that pressure now, because now you're going to have a whole audience, and you kind of, you know, for some athletes, they probably got real lax that there's no one there booing, cheering, yelling, you know what I'm saying? And so they got comfortable in their game, and now they're going to have all these people back in the stands, the audience, the pressure, the noise, the booing, the, you know, what are they doing now? Throwing stuff, you know, all that stuff, you know, now you have that to kind of deal with and prepare. And for a whole year and a half, that was something that you didn't have to deal with, you know, for most athletes, you didn't have to deal with that during the pandemic. So
now let me ask, so the pressure to compete now in front of people, how, you know, it's much different when no one's like around. They may be watching, but from afar, but now they're back, they're here. Yeah. Oh God, I haven't had this moment in like, you know, a year and a half. And now like my career is riding on this one moment. My scholarship is riding on this one moment.
Right.
You know, the pressure of winning. All right. Talk about it from time to time. And it's at every level.
Absolutely.
A lot of students have been pressured. Hey, you know what? You got to win. You got to win. You got to win. I'm a winner. You know, your mom's a winner. We come from a family of winners. And let's just say you're not that person to like, you know, win or achieve what others have achieved.
Right.
How like detrimental can that actually be to a student athlete? You know, like to come home and to like, you know, just function, period.
Right. So I think that, you know, we've talked before, and I think that I mentioned a lot the fact that the population that I work with now, or the area that I work with now, a lot of the student athletes that I service come from DC, and most of them come from like the southeast area of DC. And so what I see is a lot of those student athletes are coming from households where they may not be your traditional household in other people's eyes, right? Or in other areas or other communities. So a lot of my student athletes might be single parent homes. They may be, you know, the oldest or in the middle of their siblings. And so they're also caregivers when their single parent is at work or has to run errands. And so there's, the stress of at home, the stress of communities. A lot of the student athletes that I service that are in Southeast, they're from neighborhoods where they're they may experience, but they witness, they're around, some may even engage in, illegal activities, gang activities, violence, all of that stuff. And so there's the pressure of now having a community depend on you if you're really good at your sport, right? So if you're really good at your sport and you have a name for yourself in the community or at schools, now it becomes super pressured, right? To make sure that you go somewhere. Like you need to go to college or you need to get drafted. You need to go play in an organization. And when you're there, you need to make sure you take care of your family. You need to make sure you take care of your hood. You need to put your friends on, put your family on, like all the people that were there to support you, or maybe not, but said they were, like you need to put them on too, right? A lot of the student athletes that I service, they have the pressure because they may be the first one in their family to go to college or to finish high school, with a diploma, so there's the academic pressure. I think that now that the pandemic is over, what I see is that a lot of student athletes are really excited to like get back into regular practices, regular games. They like a lot of my student athletes want the support of, friends and family, teachers, their peers at their games, and not having that was really detrimental to their mental health because, they didn't have anyone cheering them on, right? So when you went to away games, you didn't have your parents, you didn't have your siblings, you didn't have your friends, and, you didn't have cheerleaders, you didn't have that support that keeps you going or that motivates you when you're having a rough game or even a good game. So now I think that they're really excited. It also triggers like performance anxiety, right? So you already have most athletes will say experience at some point performance anxiety, like, oh, I got to be the best, or oh, if I mess up in practice, or oh, I mess up in this game, I'm gonna get taken out, or I'm not gonna start, or all of those things, right? Or they get injured, and now after the injury, they're anxious because they don't want to make the same mistake and get injured again. Or you may see them be hesitant going up for the layup because the layup is what triggered their injury, or things like that. And so the performance anxiety, I think now for some athletes is escalated, not because, they're worried about, not playing good and getting taken out. They're worried about playing in front of other people that they haven't played. They haven't had that. They haven't had that audience in a year and a half. You know what I'm saying? They haven't had, the things that come with that, the cheering, the booing, the waiting for you, after the game and getting hugs and high fives from family and friends. Like they didn't have that, So it was also like lonely for some people, for some student athletes, and for some professional athletes that have to travel and they don't have their support system with them. And those individuals may have been individuals that they took with them to games, away or home.
Okay. All right. Well, no, I mean, and all of that is key, because first and foremost, everything you just named, like a lot of times those are factors that we really don't take into consideration, because at the end of the day, hey, you know what? They're going to show up, they're going to perform, and then we're going to go to this game and cheer, boo, whatever it is, and if you're not the athlete, it's just fine. But the athlete themselves, as you said, performance anxiety. Hey, I got to perform in front of all these people, know, and my man, I'm used to this, and now I have this, and I'm used to like this person being here. Now this person's not even here. Now, I gotta like the routine is thrown off, and when the routine is thrown off, it can like really spin you, and man, it could just send you in a.
What I think also like individuals forget. I mean, I know that they know, but I think that they forget that athletes, whether it's student athletes or professional athletes, are still humans. Like they still experience the same thing the majority of us experience.
True.
The difference is they have to experience most of that in the limelight, right? So they have to experience that in front of media, or they have to experience that on social media, or it's not private for a lot of athletes that experience the same struggles that we as non-athletes experience. The difference is we get to experience a lot of that in the privacy of our own home. We don't have paparazzi, TMZ. No. We don't have, sports network. We don't have all of that stuff like on our every move. So when we make a mistake, it's publicized. Like we don't have that. And I think that sometimes we forget to give athletes grace, to allow them to experience struggles and allow them to learn how to cope with them in their own way, as opposed to us being like, what? Financial issues? What? Mental health issues?
No. Okay. So, to your
Mm-hmm.
point. Okay. Naomi Osaka, she withdrew from her tennis tournament because of mental health issues.
Yes.
Huge backlash.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Huge backlash. Oh, I can't believe she's doing this, and why she's doing it. And
disrespectful. She's so rude. I think I saw like some media even took it to race, and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
He wants to protect her peace? Like, really?
Okay, so that's just one example.
Yep.
We've talked a little bit about Kyrie Irving with the walking stick in the stage, and and I'm not speaking to the media because of the stage I have right here is not going to let me talk to you all. I don't really know what's in it, but anyway.
Kyrie Irving, like he always is like, to me, like he always comes across like he prioritizes his mental health, his spirituality, like his overall wellness and well-being. Like I think, I've seen him post about yoga and, holistic stuff. And he just is, well, I think so. I don't know about everybody else, but I just think like the way that he carries himself really demonstrates a lot of times how he will prioritize his mental health. And not everybody likes that, not everybody's here for it.
Okay. So that's my whole point. Like we are in this society of today where we don't care about your feelings.
Nope.
Shut up and dribble. Shut up and hit the ball.
We pay to see you perform. We don't pay to hear. Right. Exactly.
Didn't come to see you talk about mental health. All right.
Exactly.
I don't work hard to go pay these tickets to hear you talk about mental health.
Right.
I'm here to see you play ball. That's what I want to see.
Right.
And like, okay, what can the league do? Or like, well, I mean, because, this is a very like tricky subject,
It is.
Look, we've had Kevin Love, we had DeMar DeRozan, we've had Delonte West. Okay. We saw his breakdown.
Yeah.
Okay, on man, everybody to see, and a lot of people like ridicule. A lot of people had jokes, but Delonte West has been suffering from mental illness like for a while now.
For a while, and I had people that knew him that reached out to me to like ask me like what support, what resources can we give him. And it's so unfortunate because as much as you see someone struggling, at some point they still have to still want it. They still have to, be in a place to receive it. And I think that for whatever reason, it took maybe the media, it took people posting, for people in the organization to, what I'm saying?
No, to really.
I have to be very, very, like, I shouldn't care about being, because honestly, like, I love advocating for mental health. And so not being transparent kind of dilutes that. And me personally, I don't think that everybody in the organization was very genuine with the support or the outreach that they gave him. I think it was because there was so many people like, where's the team at? Where's the NBA at? Where's the coaches at? It took all of that for us to learn. And I don't know. So maybe I'm speaking, wrong. We don't know what was on, behind the scenes or on the back end of things. But I know that I had coaches AAU coaches. I know I had high school coaches, people in the DC area that know him and, played with him or grew up with him. And they were reaching out. And the concern that they showed was so genuine. And it was so heartbreaking to not be able to help them get to him, because they really wanted, and from my understanding, you're absolutely correct. This is something that he had been struggling with for years. And I don't think personally that he got the support that he could have gotten when he first showed that he was struggling in the league. I just don't think so, but I digress.
But do you believe athletes, should have somewhat of a psych eval before they leave their sport?
Before they leave the sport?
Well, okay.
Or they go into which one are you asking?
Well, okay. So if you're a high school student and you're leaving high school, you're going to go to college or whatever, I mean, you really got to talk about the pressure of trying to perform in college. So I personally believe sometimes they should have psychologists and psychiatrists come in and talk to them and, just see where their mental space is before they insert them into this, with society where everybody's going to be pulling from them, and they don't really know how to, respond to that. Because look, on a high school level, it's one thing. All right. You can somewhat handle that, but when we get to a collegiate and a professional level, much different now. Okay. Because now
intensified.
It intensifies, and you have so many outside forces.
Absolutely.
So,
my opinion, let me sip my tea really quick in case I get some backlash from this. Hold on.
Okay.
But I'm prepared. I mean, hey, I work with middle school students, so there's nothing anyone can say to me that will hurt my feelings. Middle school is transparent, no filter.
Yes, they are.
So this is what I think about that. When we have high school students that are preparing for applying to college, they have a college career, whatever counselor, right? It's called different schools. They have a college counselor, a career counselor, and those are individuals that we expect and we send our students to go kind of get support when preparing for college, right? Mm-hmm. Just listen, hold on. When we go to college, we meet with an advisor, right? A college or academic advisor to set up our schedule on kind of how we want to prepare our 4 years of college, right? True. So if in those transitions, there's somebody that is put in place to help with the transition from one level to the next, why would we not have somebody put in place to help our student athletes transition from one level to the next, right? And so I don't know if I would go so far to say I think every athlete should have a psych eval, but what I will say is I personally believe, and I've advocated this, and I speak to a lot of organizations and I can't even think of what I want to say. I speak to them about putting somebody in place, right? Whether you put them on the payroll or whether you contract with them, but putting someone in place that when you recruit or agents, sorry, y'all. I knew who you are all. Agents. So I've spoken to agents, right, who have, either their own business or they're part of an organization or part of a business about, so when you take on a client, right? And you're trying to get that client drafted, get them into an organization, whatever. You're promoting all of that athlete. You're promoting, you're trying to sell them to teams, to organizations, right?
Yeah.
Why would you not emphasize that they can manage their emotions, that they, practice coping skills, that they know how to, recognize, and they know how to identify resources if they need to, if they struggle with it. Why would you not have someone put in place in your organization to say, well, we're going to promote this athlete because we want to sell this athlete. So we're going to make sure that this athlete is well-rounded. So not only are we going to talk about how fast he or she can run or sprint or hurdles or all this stuff, but we're also going to talk about how they handle their emotions on and off the field, on and off the court, how they're able to because at that point, you're selling the athlete to the organization or to the coach or the team, but you're also letting them know that if they get fouled, they're not going to be one of those athletes that throws a tantrum, gets aggressive, because they know how to manage their emotion. They're not one of those athletes that's going to walk off the court, walk off the field, or get text, or, you're promoting that part of the athlete as well. So in my opinion, I don't know if I would go as far as to say that they should get a psych eval, but I think every organization should have somebody that, as each athlete transitions either from high school to college to pros, somebody has to touch them from jump. And I think it should be mandatory for somebody to be put in place to not assess, but to meet with every new athlete that comes into an organization or on a collegiate level and kind of touch base with them and see like where their head is at. Ask them, do they need any support? Ask them, have you ever had mental health services? Are you seeing a therapist? Are you seeing a psychiatrist? And being able to help them navigate if they don't want to utilize the resources that are part of the team or the organization because they don't know if there's going to be discreet or not, help them navigate how to find resources outside so that they can continue with their mental health routines, So I think there should be somebody on every level that touches base with every new athlete that comes into an organization or a college and at least talks to them about mental health, lets them know where the resources are on campus or in the organization, all that, lets them know if they have insurance through the team or the organization, what that covers for mental health services. Like, I just think that everybody should have to be touched at least one time coming into a new organization during that transitional period. And I think that every athlete transitioning, retiring, getting injured, getting, cut, whatever terminology you want to use. If you leave a professional organization, I think somebody should touch, almost like when you have a job and they do exit interviews.
Yes, they do.
Why would we not? You know what I'm saying? This is their job. Let's exit interview them correctly, know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but hey, you bring up a key point. Why not? Because look, you're coming, okay, student athlete leaving high school may have come from a very troubled family. And, as you said, a lot of kids you deal with coming up out of, certain areas or whatever, man, single parent homes, probably a lot of stress, stress is going on, gangs, drugs, what have you, man, the whole nine.
Right.
If someone's not trying to talk, to this athlete and tell them, hey, you know what? Yeah, I know this is the background you come from or whatever, but look, man, you're going to get here. That life, you're going to leave that life, man. You're going to have a much better life because we have these services for you here. And if you're not cool with these services because of what have you, and, as you said, something you said earlier, very key, someone who looks like me that can relate to me, and even if you don't look like me, but if you can just relate to, who I am as a person, man, that speaks volumes and that goes far. But when I don't feel as if I'm not being heard or, you're just straight dismissing me when I am, man, I haven't even come into the room yet and you're dismissing me, then no, that doesn't put my trust in this system here and probably not in you all. And I mean, I'm just going to stay closed knit for the rest of the time that I'm here until I leave.
Yeah. And I also think it's important to make sure that we provide, we make sure that we let our athletes know what is accessible to them. We don't just, there's so many times where I feel like organizations will provide mental health services to an athlete when he or she gets in trouble. So when they bring negative attention to their organization or team, we're going to make sure he gets seen by a therapist. Why? Not because we genuinely care about his mental health, his or her mental health or well-being, but because now this is a bad look for us. So now we have to kind of jump in front of things. So I think that also providing culturally competent therapists and clinicians to athletes, like knowing who your population is, like knowing that if you have, no shades to other races, but if you have a team, you know what I'm saying, that is predominantly African American athletes on your basketball team or your soccer team or whatever, you know, your baseball team, whatever, why are you only providing clinicians that are of, you know, other ethnicities? Like, why are you only providing Caucasian therapists and clinicians to provide services to your predominantly African American team? Mm-hmm. I don't understand that. And that is what people say to me, like, oh, we were searching for a Black therapist, and it is hard to find a Black therapist, especially in, you know, during the pandemic where things are changing, you know, with now a lot of people aren't doing in office, they're only doing telehealth. A lot of people are not accepting insurance. A lot of people are full. Well, because think about it. Like strategically, a lot of clinicians, I mean, they're strategic. So I'm gonna give them their props. Okay. They're in demand during the pandemic, right? Because people are now like an elevated new level of stress. Mm-hmm. They used to take insurance. They decide, well, you know what? I'm in demand, so I'm not going to take insurance. And now I'm going to make my clients pay out of pocket. So now I only take, now I do know clinicians that have transitioned. Most of the clinicians that I know, they do already start off with their practice only taking private pay. But I do know clinicians that transition out of strategy and it made sense to them financially. But what that leaves is all these individuals who cannot pay out of pocket because you didn't look at the population or the environment that you service, right? And recognize that these are not the type of clients in this population that would be able to pay $200 a week for a session out of pocket.
Right. Thank you.
So then they're looking for individuals who look like them, and there's none of us available. And so they feel either like, well, I don't want to go to someone else that doesn't look like me, so I'll just deal with my own stuff, you know, on my own, or they settle for someone that they don't have a good vibe with. And then they come back 3 sessions later and say, I quit because therapy didn't work for me. Cultural competence is so important in mental health and providing services, especially if you are going to be in minority communities. It is so important to have therapists that are culturally competent.
That reminds me of college. I had an African studies class being like taught by a Caucasian professor.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too.
I mean, but you know, I just made the joke. I'm like, dude, if I don't get an A out of this class, I don't even know what to do with myself anymore. Okay. Like, I'm going to quit. Like, if I don't get an A out of this class, I'm going to quit. Okay. Yeah. But no, I think I ended up getting a B anyway. But anyway.
But you know, it'll do.
Right. It'll do. I still felt should deserve an A. But whatever. But no, like, that is key. Culturally competent. And like I said, you look like me, you understand where I come from, because that's where you come from, and we can, like, you know, find a connection in between. Then yeah, that sparks for a great, you know, connection, and we can have great dialogue, and in the end, it's a return on the investment. Okay. Right. I'm investing my mental health, my time or whatever. And in return, I'm getting all these services, and, you know, I'm getting better by the day.
Right.
So, okay. All right. Man, no, I mean, you know what? That's like, you don't really think about it at the time until you really need to think about it. You know,
I don't even think I thought about it when I created my private practice. I think I started being more aware when people would say, I'm so glad that I found you and you're accepting new clients. I've been looking for a Black therapist. It's so hard to find one. I think that that's when I started being more aware of how important it is for clients, not just for, you know, your practice and how you run it, and identifying like what population you want to service, and you want to, you know, that's going to be your niche, that's going to be your specialty. But when individuals are looking for support, and they're looking for guidance, and they're looking for, you know, strategies and intervention, Like, they want someone that they trust will give them the support and advice and the guidance that's best for them. Like, some, it's okay. I'll just say this. I personally would not know how to, and I'm a therapist, okay? I'm a therapist, and I still personally wouldn't know how to address the grief and the anger and the hurt and sadness that I feel when it comes to racial tension and watching all the police brutality, like watching that stuff on social media and experiencing it and seeing people die that look like me. I don't know how I would be able to really articulate that to a non-African American or non-minority clinician in a therapy session and really think that they understand. Like, can you really say to me, I understand, and I would believe you? You may say that because in your mind and in your heart, you are sincere and genuine about being empathetic to me.
Yeah, but
as a Black person, I don't know if I'd be comfortable in a session with a therapist that really said that I don't really feel like you do. And so that is where I'm more self-aware of how important being culturally competent and being culturally aware and being open to have individuals during this time, being open, knowing that that might be some of the main issues that get brought up in session, because that is what a lot of our community is experiencing. Yeah. They are experiencing that racial tension and, that racial just everything. Like, they're experiencing it, the trauma, the racial trauma. They're experiencing it, even watching it on social media.
And okay, there you go. So look, you hear about it on TV. All right.
Yeah.
You got one of these. What are you doing all day? Scrolling. What do I see? Oh man. Every third video is of a cop, harassing a Black person. They ain't even got to be beating them up, but just like harassing them.
Right.
That's like psychologically PTSD,
Absolutely.
And now as an athlete, I have to go out here and perform. And okay, so case in point, Russell Westbrook a couple of weeks ago, I want to say the fan threw popcorn or something on him or what have you as he was walking out, and he went off.
Yeah.
Which I feel he had every right to.
Right. That way it's like assault almost,
Okay. And to take it back to Kyrie again, someone threw a bottle at Kyrie as he was walking off the floor.
Absolutely.
All right. So now here it is. You have these athletes who are fighting for social justices. And I'm thinking about, oh God, Sterling someone. He plays for the Rockets now. But when he was playing for the Bucks, he was involved in a police altercation. Yeah. And that was on videotape. So we can go back and check that. But you don't think that he still has to go out here on the court and play with that in the back of his mind? And every time he walks past a security guard or policeman or whomever is at the stadium that night, that he's not a little apprehensive of, because I'm thinking about what happened when I was out that night and cops did this, that, what have you to me. And as we talked about before, when athletes take these stands for social justices, not even on a professional level, let's just go high school, okay? Man, when a high school, the girls' high school team, they took a knee or whatever, you can hear the person in the back of the recording, called them a bunch of B's and N's and all this other stuff. It's hard. It is hard to do something that you're passionate about in a very hostile environment, especially when that environment...
While being high profile. You can't do anything, so going back to Kyrie and Russell, right? Think about, so they're advocating for racial justice, right?
Right.
And they're also probably watching all of the deaths, all of the protests, all of that stuff on media, right? And then the individuals who assault them are white. But now that you act out, as some outlets have said, right? Now that they act out, they become the highlight of the issue. Well, why is he getting aggressive? Like, I remember I don't remember what it was, but it was a reporter, and they were talking about, I think it was Russell, and they were talking about how he responded to the popcorn being thrown. It's just popcorn, and this is how he reacts. He looks like a 2-year-old. Ma'am, sir, this is a human, a person. At this point, athlete goes out the window, because he is a Black male in a society, in a time in America where racial tension is super high, and a white male throws something at him, and you expect him not to respond as a Black individual. You expect him to respond as an athlete. Now, do I think that this is where your coping skills could come into play? Yes. However, this also goes to the point I was trying to make in the beginning, where we forget that athletes are humans first. They experience the same emotions that we do. It's just publicized. If a Black male was walking and a white man threw something on the street, he would respond the same way.
Yeah.
Do you think that would be talked about for weeks? No. It might have been recorded and, posted on social media, TMZ, whatever. But you think he would have got so much backlash, the Black male, as Russell did? Nope. Nope. Mm-hmm. So they have to, downplay their emotions, downplay their reactions to fit the standards of their organization and society. And sometimes that's just not fair. And sometimes that's a lot of pressure. And that's where the stress comes from. And that's why a lot of athletes are sitting up saying, I'm not going to do press conferences because I'm protecting my peace. Or, I forgot who it was last week on the press conference when they were asking him something about a game. And he was like, are you serious? Like, do you know what's going on in the world right now? And you're asking me about this? It might have been Kyrie. It might have been Kyrie.
It might have been.
Who does that?
That sounds like something Kyrie would probably feel right about now.
Like, you're seriously asking me about this? Do you know what's going on outside right now in this world? Do you want to talk about that since we have this platform? No. And then they shut up. No. But that's why so many athletes now are like, if I'm going to get in trouble, if I'm going to get criticized or whatever for being human and expressing my emotions to something that's triggering, then I'm just not going to say it at all. I'm not going to put myself in a space to be triggered anymore. And I have that right, because at the end of the day, that's my life. That's my right as a human being in this world. I have the right to say, I'm not going to be in a space where I feel triggered. Because when they get triggered, you're not going to like their response, and then that's going to be an issue. So at least they're being responsible,
Speaking of being triggered, Kwame Brown.
Mm-hmm.
He's been all over the media, Yeah. But now, if you go back and for those who don't know the history of Kwame Brown, he was drafted number 1 at age 19 for the Washington Wizards during the time where Michael Jordan was spending his last 2 years in the league. And he was on his way out of the league. And, it was a very turbulent time for Kwame. A lot of people labeled him as a bust. He was the butt of a whole bunch of jokes for years. We're not just talking about one season. We're talking about years, okay? And when you're like a punchline, it's just not good. So Kwame took things
that after a while.
Yeah, man. Well, as you said, the pressure gets to you, and the pressure got to him, and eventually he just started coming out, And to me, I took it as, okay, I'm taking back my power, because it's like, I'm tired of these people coming on here saying I'm this, saying I'm that, talking about me, talking about my family, just putting a whole bunch of things into it. And you have to figure, okay, what is his mental health like? Because I'm pretty sure he has kids, and his kids have to hear these things being said to him. And now, that's something that we don't really talk about from time to time now, like the children or families of these athletes who are going through things, and sometimes it's just not the athlete going through it. It's the
Oh,
whole family. It's the
no,
whole circle.
absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
So like, I mean, it gets deep and it's, it gets big. So Kwame ended up taking his gripes to social media, basically against those who spoke out against him. And now, man, he's received so much support. And I believe it's like sort of opened the eyes a little bit to a lot of people like, hey, you know what? Take a step back. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we really doing?
Right.
So, man, mental health is big. It's big. It's big. It's big. Okay.
Like, let's also, sorry, hold on.
Come on.
So let's also, while we're advocating, because this has been a topic that I have been involved in with other clinicians. So while we're advocating for mental health services to be accessible to athletes on all levels, why don't we also prioritize those same services being maybe different, but mental health in general, services being accessible to the spouses of the athletes? Because let's think about this. They probably endure, especially women who are left at home with the kids, and they have to, deal with the limelight too. They have to deal with, some of them work, so now they're dealing with work, home, being a single parent for majority of the time during the season, being lonely because they miss their significant other, maybe even feeling pressure and overwhelmed because they have so much responsibility and only one adult is in the house. I mean, they might have nannies and stuff, but let's women, I got you. And I mean, men too, because men are significant others to like WNBA. So I got you too. But let's make sure that we also provide services to those same individuals who have to be there to support your athletes when y'all piss them off. When they come home, when they get cut, when you do there's something with their contract, when they get injured, when you need them to pep back up and you're not knowing how to do it. Like, why don't we also make sure that we support the spouses who that's their role at that point, is to make sure that they're the caregiver, the supporter, the biggest cheerleader, sometimes single parent for the majority of the season. Like all these roles that, they might not have thought was going to be so hard. When they first, married, dated, or whatever their significant other. Spouses, I got you.
Well, no, okay, so let's just speak on it for a little bit, But man, like infidelity. Let's not act like it doesn't happen, okay? Especially like professional, NBA players.
And that's in the limelight too.
Okay, so these things come out on.
Exactly, but now your significant other is dealing with that too. So what does their mental health look like that now? For the majority of normal marriages, if infidelity happens, the whole world doesn't know about it, right? So if a woman or man decides to take their spouse back after infidelity, they don't have the whole world,
it's not.
That's a lot too. Like I said, everything is in the limelight, but that doesn't mean they're excluded from everyday things that happen in relationships, families, households, lifestyles. Like they experience the same thing us normal people do. They just are in the limelight. So everything is scrutinized, everything.
Yeah, I mean, but that's true, because now you're talking about performance anxiety. So let's say something like that happens and now, there's trouble at home. So now you can't be out here playing to the best of your ability, whether you're male or female, like, if there's trouble at home, something that, more than likely you may have caused. Now it's like, okay, how do these coping skills work? How do we try to work this out? And if you have none, because you've just been living this repeated cycle of like mental illness or what have you for like years and years and years and just never thought to get help, the way you may cope with it may seem okay in your mind, but
Right.
professionally it's just bad, and it's setting you up for more
Right.
failure down the road.
Right.
So, oh no, I'm like, okay, I see you over there. All right, spouses.
Yeah, look out for the women, I mean, why do I keep saying it? Because men are spouses too. I'm sorry, y'all. Men are spouses too. Y'all deserve all the same resources, support as us women. That's my bad. I need
All the spouses. Okay.
all the spouses.
All
All
spouses.
of y'all.
All y'all. All y'all. Okay. All y'all. All right. Look, before we get out of here, let's talk about your platform, your
Okay.
platform. Okay. Like,
Mhm.
first of all, what do the letters stand for?
Oh, for Lace. So Lace is my private practice, and Lace is really, really long. I feel like people judge me when I say it, but I love it. LACE stands for Learning Alternative Ways to Channel Euphoria. Basically, my focus, so it's a small boutique private practice, meaning that it's just me. So I don't have any employees yet. It's a smaller, more intimate practice. So it allows me opportunities to be more client centered. It allows me to spend more time to invest in trying to understand what treatment goals they want to work on, being able to focus on them, allowing them to initiate and take more lead in the sessions. It's a more intimate setting because the office space is also more, it's smaller, more discreet, because like I said, I had to think about that when working with athletes and student athletes, like trying to be in a space or an area in the on the street or in the city that's a little bit isolated.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that I focused on is finding alternative ways to kind of gain that self confidence, that self love, self growth, progress, anything, reaching your goals, just finding different ways. And that usually is like creativity. I use hands-on approaches, meaning that sounds bad. Hands-on creative interventions. So I like to use a lot of sensory-oriented things in sessions. So, we may do a intervention where we're talking about goal setting instead of just talking about it, because maybe you're not aware of what goals you want to work on. So we'll do something tangible that they can use that will resemble or give them the idea of growth or goals, and then they can take that home with them so that they can use it as like an accountability partner, but not a partner. So it's like so it's like very similar to like when people do vision boards, right?
Yes.
So but I would do things like, got you. So when talking about growth, one of the things that I make my clients do is they do like a little growth pot, right? So then basically all the areas that they want to grow in all the aspects of their life, not just therapy, they would write it on the outside. And then of course, the flower represents them. There's other things that are in the flower pot that have symbolism towards goals, growth, and therapy. And then at the end of the session, they'll be like, oh, what do I do? And I'm like, this is yours. You get to take it home. It's your accountability partner. And then every couple months, we'll do a check-in and we'll revisit those goals and say like, how have you been working on them? Are you intentional about putting effort? Which ones do you still need to work on? Do we need a new pot because maybe you've reached, like it gives me something to be able to have a different way to connect and give clients a different creative way to articulate or express things that they may feel like, I don't really know, or I don't really feel like talking today. You don't, I have glitter, so I'm very hands-on. Most of my workshops with student athletes are hands-on. Like that's one of the things that I like to think I specialize in, is like thinking outside of the box and then getting them to think outside of the box, especially when I work with males and young boys, because sometimes they can't necessarily relate to me sometimes because I'm a girl, right? And when I tell them I used to hoop, they don't believe me. So they really think they can't relate to me, right? So they're not necessarily as open and as vulnerable as my female clients, right? So I have to kind of get a different way to get them to buy in. So I get them distracted with the intervention and they're kind of like, why am I doing this arts and craft thing? But in the process of worrying about why they're doing their arts and crafts, they're talking, because I can slip in different questions or prompts, and their guard is let down, because now they're not focused on, she's trying to get all in my business. Why she want to know this? I don't really want to be here. Because now they're focused on, why I gotta do this? Oh, this is kind of cool. They're focused on something different, and it kind of gets them a little bit more comfortable. And then usually my guys are like, well, I didn't get to finish. Can I get a couple more minutes? Like, guys really like to be creative. I think they just don't want to, or they might not even know it. I think they just have to have that opportunity to kind of have access to finding that side of them.
Well,
so private practice.
Well, let me just say that's very innovative, because trust me, trying to get kids to sit down and well, let me tell you, one thing I like about that is it leaves them with a plan. All right, because you've already written down everything on here, and the inside represents you, and all these things go into like making the flower grow. So if you work on these things, these are just some of the things you need to work on. And as you go through, you'll figure out, oh, okay, man, I want to work on this too, or I may want to achieve this, or I may want to do that. So like you said, it just opens up like for more dialogue later on down the line. Game changing. All right. Great segue.
Really quick about my nonprofit. I'll make that super quick, Ty.
No, come on. Look here. Talk to me.
Listen, talk to us. I've been taking all Ty's time.
That's okay though. Talk to us.
All right. So I have a nonprofit organization. It's fairly new, but I am starting to, try to get that moving and get people more aware of it. So it literally focuses on athletes, specifically student athletes, and being able to advocate for mental health services, helping them kind of build a more successful emotional foundation during their sports, before, during, after, just kind of getting them prepared. I provide workshops to teams, teaching them just the basic, like what's the difference between mental health and mental illness, letting them know, just trying to normalize the conversation, right? Normalize that, like, it is okay to have issues and struggles, normalize it is okay to ask for help. These are some ways you can do it. These are some things you can do on your own. Like, sometimes you can't do it. You need, extra support. Here are some resources. So I do workshops with teams. I do workshops with coaches. And what I do with coaches is helping them kind of be more emotionally aware of things that their student athletes go through. So being more empathetic, understanding, especially like male coaches, like, some of the things that I'll hear is like, she just lazy because she just don't want to practice. What did she say? What was wrong? Well, she said she has cramps. Sir, that is a whole issue for some women. Like, I'm trying to tell you, but as a man, you don't understand that is a struggle that young girls and women really do. Like, not everybody can just be all peppy and bounce. Like, cramps are real, you know? And so just kind of helping them understand and be more empathetic and more understanding and more sensitive, just being more emotionally available for their players. And then basically I'm going to start doing workshops and camps where we will incorporate kind of dialogue about mental health, doing hands-on workshops, but also inviting trainers from different sports to have like stations. And so the kids will rotate and be able to interact with trainers, coaches, while also learning about how mental health can impact sports and your performance anxiety and why it's important. So things like that. So that is called TEAMS. I like a good acronym. So it's TEAM, TEAM, and it stands for Teaching and Empowering Athletes Mentally. That was like a lot to try to get out. I'm not a good short. Don't invite me for any more podcasts that are short, because I can talk. Woo.
Well, okay, but I'm glad you can. But we're talking about something very important. So I can see we were just sitting up here talking about nothing. But we're talking about something very important, and you are very vital, to your field and to the people that you serve. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna talk until we can't talk. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
There it is. Boom. So now, if people want to get in contact with you, how do people get in contact with you?
I'm prepared this time for that question. Before I couldn't remember my Instagram, but I got it. All right. Got two different Instagrams, right? Got the Instagram for me, but it also promotes mental health. It also promotes my businesses. It also gives resources. And that is game.changing.therapist. It's a lot. See, I'm the game changer. Game.changing.therapist. My business page encompasses both LACE and teen. So it is strictly about mental health in athletes and just mental health in general. And it'll give like resources, things like that. And that is Team Therapy, TEAM Therapy. And then you can hit me up on my website. And that is www.LACEELLC.com. Email info@LACELLC.com. I mean, hey y'all, you can slide in my DMs. You know, don't ask me please don't provide any HIPAA. Don't provide no information that you wouldn't want to accidentally get out, but you can slide in my DM appropriately and ask me for resources. You can ask me how to connect with me like out of social media. I just ask that you don't share any HIPAA information, which is your protected health information. Don't share any of that, because you never know with Instagram, and I don't want you to tell me what you're struggling with and why you need therapy, and then that get hacked. So slide in my DMs, ask me for resources. Hey, I'm single, you can ask me for dates, but appropriate.
Okay. All right, ladies.
I told you I'm live today.
Man, like, yes, she's live today, boy. Oh Lord, I don't know what's gonna happen now. But that's okay. Hey, look, that's what's up though. Seriously, like, I think that's great, and we're going to talk a little bit after this is over about some organizations that I can possibly put you in contact with.
Okay.
I know.
But side note, this really was coffee, y'all. Like, I don't want you to think I'm over here drinking alcohol. I promise you, it's Starbucks, and I just didn't want to be real like hood and be drinking my Starbucks cup. So, and it's blingy.
Now, see, had she not said the A word, we probably would have never guessed the A word. But
I promise you, it's not. I wouldn't drink alcohol anyway, not on a podcast.
No, well, okay, well,
maybe a sip of wine, but I promise you, it's coffee.
Right, right. I'm like, I don't know. It's my show. I mean, I know, man. Please,
we're live today, y'all. I got so much energy today, y'all. We live.
Woo! Anyway, y'all. But no, look, this has been great. I have enjoyed this because like I said before, mental health is key. All right. Yeah. It's at the forefront now. And especially during the pandemic, as we said, you've had people for like the last year and a half going through all these different changes. And now that we're like reopening, people have different feelings than what they had before. They have different emotions than what they had before, and trying to deal with like the new can be stressful. So, man, for my student athletes, for my athletes, everybody going through something right now, just trying to adjust, man. If it's possible for you to talk to someone who is equipped to, help you out, please, by all means, please seek that help and get that help. If you are someone who can't get, the proper help or what have you, man, try to find some positive outlet, to, get your like feelings and emotions out, because life is real. We need you at the end of the day. And, man, we just got to make, the world.
You matter.
Yes. You matter.
You matter. You're loved. If no one tells you, and I know that sounds weird coming from a stranger, I promise you, you are loved. You matter. We want you here. Definitely reach out to someone for support, and don't be offended if they don't know how to support you, but then you can ask them, help me find support, help me find someone or somewhere that can provide the support. And I guarantee you, they're not going to say no. Not a friend, not a family, not nothing. They're not going to say no.
Okay. Real quick before I get into my last question, I got
more questions?
Well, I got one question I just want to throw in real quick.
Okay.
Life coaches, like if they have access to a life coach, I know a life coach is not a therapist, but can a life coach sort of provide?
In so much trouble. Lord.
Okay.
Oh, Lord, because I got my own opinion about that. But go ahead, I got you. What's up?
Well, no, I mean, look, I'm about the real. Okay, and I never want to lead people astray, but
they're not.
Okay.
They're not the same. They're not the same. Some life coaches are licensed counselors, licensed social workers. They are, but if they're not like a mental health, they don't have a mental health licensure. We're not the same, and I think that is a big kind of controversy thing that goes on in a lot of dialogue and conversations in groups with therapists and life coaches, is that sometimes individuals feel like life coaches provide therapy because they may talk about, your overall wellness and mental health, and they're not the same. If they are not licensed clinical social workers, licensed practicing counselors, psychiatrists, psychologists, if they're not credentialed with mental health in any form, they're not the same. They're not. They're not.
Mic drop. I just wanted to clear that up.
I have
you out there.
A close friend who's a life coach. I'm sorry, girl, but we just different. But I'm not saying I'm better, but you're different. Sorry, but we're not the same. Coaches, therapists, they're not the same.
No,
they're not the same.
She's licensed. I'm just saying. Anyway, I said it. Ladies and gentlemen, no. I just had to put that out there because there are some people out there who have the misconception that, hey, I can go do this and this person can offer me this because every time I go talk to them, I do.
But keep in mind, you can take mental health advice and guidance from someone who is not licensed, but at the end of the day, if something were to happen to you, they're not going to be liable. They're going to be like hands off because they have no credential, right? You want someone who has experience in education in what they're delivering to you. Like, be mindful of who you go to for mental health support. Know the difference between a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a mental health counselor, a licensed clinical social worker, a licensed practicing counselor, I think it's practitioner counselor, and a life coach. Please know the difference between all of those individuals. Be educated on who you ask for support from, who you give your money to, who you take mental health advice, guidance, support, whatever from. Please be educated in who you are allowing into your space, your energy, and your peace.
Okay. Look, I'm letting y'all know right now, a psychiatrist is the only one who can provide a prescription for you.
Yes.
The only one who can provide a prescription. Okay. Yes. So, I mean, they don't
come in my DMs and ask me if I can write you a script. The answer is no, sis. I cannot.
Because that happens.
No, it does.
Yeah.
It comes to me all the time, and I'm like, I don't. Yeah. I don't.
I'm not that. No. Yeah. No. Okay. Anyway. So, you already know this is the last question. You already know I'm about to ask, so I'm gonna ask it anyway. Okay.
Another question?
Yes. Okay. We have the last question. All right. Yeah, we've been vibing. You know what we've been doing. Look, you know how we do when we get up here. Okay, stop.
It's true.
All right.
So I be acting like you don't like me. I'm the life of the party. Okay.
Miss Natasha Carter.
Yes.
What is the one word that best describes you and why?
Oh, I really didn't know that was what you were going to ask me. I thought you were going to ask me something about Greek. I don't know why. That's one thing that describes me. Oh. Come on. I would say, can I have two? It's one phrase.
Come on.
Creative catalyst.
Okay, you know what? I will give you that. I will give you creative catalyst. Okay, all right. Okay. Why? Okay. Because you know what? First and foremost, some people at home like, what did she just say? Creative catalyst.
Yes. So I like to use creativity to disrupt your negative, unhealthy patterns and give you a new outlook, a new perspective on how to make a change in your life. So I use creativity, and the catalyst is like the change. And so I'm a creative catalyst. That's a short version. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but that's a short version. I like to use creativity during my interventions to help you change your perspective and how you think about things in a different manner and think outside of the box so that you can better, so you can improve your lifestyle, way of living, your thinking to more healthy and positive ways.
Game-changing therapist. That's what she's trying to tell y'all, okay? I'm just going to tell you what game-changing therapist. There you have it. All right. Yes. Also, man, hit her up on Instagram. That's her Instagram.
Yeah, I need more followers, guys.
All right. Yes, followers. Please follow.
Followers on my team therapy page. That's really important.
There we go. Okay. So now, you know, I mentioned this earlier in, the, show, but I'm going to mention it again.
Did you?
Yes, Miss Natasha Carter is my D9 sister. We're gonna just have a real quick powwow on Greek life. Okay. So, my D9 sister over here is a member of the mighty Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. Okay. All right.
Yes. The beautiful, monumental Mu contractor at NC State. Just giving y'all a shout out.
Okay. Real quick, let me ask this question because I like to ask my fellow Greeks, this question.
Lord. Okay.
Real quick, why Delta?
Oh. So for me, so on my campus, I just really, really admired the work that they were doing around the campus. All the Deltas that I knew or interacted with prior to me joining the organization, they were really close. I loved their bond. I loved their sisterhood. I loved the community service and the events that they put on, the things that they supported as far as like academic things, scholarship things on our campus. And honestly, it was a vibe, it's a vibe. I knew that I wanted to, I knew I was interested in Delta Sigma Theta in high school. My best friend's mom was a Delta and I was always around. And so it was like a joke, like we're going to go to college together. We're going to be roommates. We're going to pledge together. We went to different schools, but I just didn't feel a connection. And the crazy thing is, like, I have a lot of other Greek organization in my family. And I just really, my heart was Delta. Like, my heart was Delta. It was just a vibe.
Well, in the heart of every Delta, there is a Sigma. So there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to pull that one out all day. There you go.
Right in the middle. Delta, Sigma, Theta.
Yeah, up. But no, ladies and gentlemen, there it is. Okay, man, look, I've enjoyed myself.
Me too.
It is always a pleasure speaking to you because we give it to, each other like in the raw, but like it's all done in love, and we are here to give it to you all and just put you all up on what's really going on out here and see the true perspective, which is one of the words that I use, introspect.
You did. And you did this too. Like, you did like a mind thing. You did.
It's the Jedi mind trick.
Yeah.
All right.
And please do not feel embarrassed, ashamed, or anything to reach out. I feel like everybody in this world should at least try therapy one time. Even if you just need a vent, even if you just want, like, everybody deals with life stressors. Yeah. We just don't deal with them the same. So please know that it is okay. It doesn't make you weak, vulnerable, sensitive, none of that stuff. It makes you strong because you're asking for support when you feel embarrassed, ashamed, guilty, whatever, to do it. You still found the courage to ask for support and to ask for guidance, to ask for help. That is courageous. Okay, I'm
real
done.
strength. That's real strength, y'all. Like seriously, like knowing that something's wrong and you're going to go about like seeking that help for it. That's real strength. Don't let nobody tell you that's weak.
Don't. And that's on period, boo. Okay, I'm
There you go. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Man, we have come to the very end of the show. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I have been Ty Brownlow. This has been Word with Ty Brownlow. Remember, no one is worthless. No story is worthless. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Word with Ty Brownlow, or go to my website, tybrownlow.com. Y'all definitely know y'all getting this conversation as soon as we're done. And you're going to get plenty other great interviews as well. Miss Natasha Carter.
Yes.
Until next time, because there will be a next time. You know, I have thoroughly enjoyed it.
So when I don't get invited back, y'all heard it, right?
See, you know what? We out, people. Peace.